We're going to be programming the guitar body that you see on the screen right here. What we have labeled here are just the types of features that we're part features that we're going to be programming. So if we start on the left, which is the top, and on the right is the bottom side. So as Joe mentioned, we've got various pockets for the pickup areas, and as well as facing to just face off the stock. We've got some contoured surfaces here and more contoured fillets going all the way around the part. So I'm going to be showing you actually some new 2024 features for fillet machining, which is really cool. So basically, we're starting with a 3D solid model, or what we call a poly surface model. So this is a NURBS model, NURBS surfaces. And over here on the right, we have facing and then contour fillets around the perimeter. So let's just hop right in. So here is the guitar body. Okay, so we got the top and the bottom. And we've got a number of layers over here. I'll tell you what those are in just a moment. We have already our tools set up ahead of time. Okay, so we've got 3/8 inch flat mills, 3/8 inch ball mill. We have a face mill cutter. We have a corner radius mill, and then we have two more flat end mills, a 1/4 inch and a 1/8 inch flat end mill. So the finishing can be done with the 3/8 ball, and then the rest with the flat mills. And let's see what else we got going. Let's talk a little bit, as we mention every time before you start a CAM project, you need to take a look at your part, get familiar with every feature on your part, and get it set up in your mind how you're going to approach it, and obviously also how you're going to fixture the part during machining. A two-sided machining or a flip machining part, the fixturing obviously is paramount. How you need to work that out. In this example, we're assuming that we have a vacuum table that's going to hold down the part during machining, and we're also going to be fixturing the part for flip machining, and I'll show you how that's done. So the easiest way, there's multiple different ways of flip machining, and people have different ways of doing it. I'm going to show you the easiest way, and one that guarantees no mistakes, because when you go flipping geometry around and you're concerned about getting it aligned top to bottom, things can go wrong, and then if they go wrong, then it makes it real complicated to try to fix what's going on. So this approach is going to be almost error-free. Okay, so the way to do that is to model your stock box. Okay, so you're going to position your stock box right over top of your model, how it's going to be positioned on the table. Okay, so we've got a box and we got our guitar body placed inside it, aligned and everything. This method right here, when you go to moving parts around, flipping them around, this is going to ensure that your guitar body stays aligned with your stock model. Okay, and we're also going to be using the stock model in order to create, obviously, the stock. Okay, and you'll see that I modeled some holes in the corners. The standard configuration, we're just going to be using the box as the stock. But when we talk about actually flipping the part over, if you look at it, okay, we're looking along the y-axis on the long side and the x-axis on the short side. We're going to be actually flipping the part over like this, okay? And for this example, we're going to be using two of the register pins for flipping it over. You always want to just use two and not over constrain your model. Two fixture locations is all you need to align this part. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started how we're going to program this in the standard configuration. So what we're going to do, as we always do, we're going to start on the Program tab. We're going to start at the left and work our way to the right to program this part. We'll start with the machine. Obviously, we're doing 2 and 3 axis operations, so it's going to be set to 3 axis, and there's really nothing else we need to do there. And you'll see that the items are showing up in under the machining job. So for our post, we're not going to be really talking about posting in this video. It's just set to the default post, so we'll leave it at that. And the setup, we're going to be looking at in the standard configuration, we're not going to be orienting the part. Well, we will be orienting the part when we do the flip side, but we won't be using the setup or the rotate table setup options. Okay, so go to the stock. Again, you got to have your stock layer turned on, and we're going to go to the stock. For the standard configuration, we're just going to do a box stock, and we're going to select the copy model bounding box option, which snaps the stock to the stock box, and we'll pick OK there. Now, once the stock is defined, you don't need the stock model layer. We're going to turn that off, and here is our stock model, okay, with the guitar body positioned in the center of the stock. So for this particular example, the stock is already aligned at the world origin in Rhino. So the bottom left corner of the stock model is located at the WCS origin in Rhino, okay? And we're going to be putting a work 0 or the machine 0 at the top of the stock in this corner as well. And when we go to flip the part, you'll see how easy it is to get this aligned correctly. Okay, so we've got one setup, as I mentioned, and it is aligned with the world origin. These are just toggles here. This is the WCS origin. I'm going to leave that turned off, and this is the machine coordinate system origin. So this is the setup one orientation, X, Y, and Z. So we're machining the top, okay? So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to add a machine 0 or work 0, and we're going to set it to the stock box. Now, you need to, in the method we're using to flip this, you want to use the stock box, because when we flip it over, you won't have to change your work 0. It'll automatically snap to the correct location. So we're going to use set to stock box, and we're going to use highest Z, southwest corner. So this is the machine 0 we're going to use. We'll pick generate. Okay, so now you'll see that the machine coordinate system moved from here to the top of the stock. So that's going to be our machine 0. Now we can go ahead and turn the stock off. So we need to program the bottom side. As I mentioned at the beginning, if you model your stock box, and this applies, it doesn't have to be to a guitar body, it applies to anything that you're going to be cutting. If you're going to be doing 2 sides of the part, again, you need to make sure that both sides are aligned, obviously, to make those cut line up. Okay, so in this case, as I mentioned, we actually modeled the stock box with the part inside the box. So one of the main differences between the standard and the professional is that in the standard configuration, you only have one setup. In other words, you can only cut from one direction at a time in the standard configuration. And since we have 2 directions and we need to cut the bottom now, we're going to be saving this part out as the top and then saving it out again as the bottom. So we're going to have 2 models, 2 part files, one for the top, one for the bottom. Okay, so let's go ahead and save this out. Okay, and we'll just call this top. And then we're going to save. Now, I'm purposely doing the top first, and I'm going to do the bottom, and that's the part file that I'm going to work on next. So I'm doing the bottom second. Let's do save as, bottom. Okay, so now we're working on the bottom uh, version of this part. So now we need to actually rotate this geometry. And what's neat about the method right here is once you flip it over and align it to the world origin, everything is aligned automatically for you. You don't need to worry about anything else. It does it automatically. So what we're going to do though is we're going to use this option on the setup tab, orient part. You may not have used this. This is a relatively obscure option, and you probably don't use it a whole lot. But in this case, it's going to be critical. So we're going to use the orient part. And another thing I wanted to mention, you need to make sure that all of your geometry levels are turned on when you do this orient, because it's going to flip everything over. And if you don't want to leave anything behind, you don't want to leave one layer that's off and you got geometry over there, and then it gets everything kind of haywire. So make sure everything's turned on, and we're going to machine from the bottom. Okay. If you look at the large triad here, so this is the triad, this is the machining direction that we're going to be machining. So we're going to be machining on the bottom. So pick OK. So you see that it flipped everything over for you. Okay. But it didn't align it up with the world origin. We're going to go ahead and do that now. So with the stock box turned on, we're going to go ahead and redo the stock. We're going to pick copy model bounding box, pick OK. So now we have the stock aligned with our box, and we're just going to go use this align option called set world CS. What that does is this actually moves all of your geometry to the world origin in the CAD model, which as you can see, it's over here. So we're going to go ahead and use align, set world CS. We're going to go by the stock box, always go by the stock box as we have the stock modeled. And we're going to put the origin, the WCS, we're going to put it based on the lowest Z and southwest. So we're going to put it over here just like we had on the top. We'll pick OK. So it moves everything over to the world origin. Everything is contained exactly the way it was on the top. Actually, on your table, we flip the part over, okay? And you use the same 2 register pins on your table, and everything is aligned perfectly. So the stock, modeling the stock is the difference. If you try to do it without doing it another method, it makes it really complicated, and errors can be introduced, and it makes it real complicated sometimes to figure out where those errors are and how to fix them. So if you're using the stock model, the stock box method, everything is contained within that stock box, and everything gets moved with it. Okay, so we got it turned over. We got it positioned. And what's kind of neat, if you look at the work 0, it's automatically in the position that we had in the top side. So you don't have to mess with your work 0. Everything is all set up and oriented for you. So that's why using this method is one of the methods that makes it error-free for you.